Embrace failure, for it is the anvil upon which greatness is forged. The world recoils from defeat, from the sting of falling short, but those who understand the nature of power know that failure is not the end, it is the beginning. A single defeat is nothing but a fleeting wound, a momentary crack in the armor of ambition. To fear failure is to fear growth, to fear the refinement that only pain can bring. The weak crumble beneath the weight of their losses, but the strong rise from the ashes, sharper, more dangerous than before. Each defeat is a lesson, each failure a gift wrapped in agony. To fall is to learn where the ground gives way, to understand where your weaknesses lie, and to master them. The sting of defeat burns away the illusions of invincibility, forces the mind to recalibrate, to grow beyond what was once thought possible. Those who embrace failure know that it is not the fall that defines you. It is the rise that follows. And with every rise, you become something greater than before, something the world will learn to fear. Do not confuse a single defeat with the end of the war. A battle lost is not a life lost, but a step deeper into the journey of dominance. The wise understand that setbacks are the sharpening stones of victory, that each failure brings you closer to the final triumph. Failure strips away the unnecessary, exposes the flaws that were once hidden in the comfort of success. It is in the collapse of the old that the new is built, stronger, unyielding, a fortress forged in fire. To fall is to understand the limits of what once was, but it is not the end. It is a crack in the foundation that begs to be rebuilt, a fracture that demands to be sealed with something stronger than what came before. The weak will tremble in the face of defeat, convinced that the fall is final, that the darkness that follows is eternal. But those who wield power know that darkness is not an enemy. It is an ally, a place to retreat, to gather strength, to prepare for the return.
Please take this short break from your video to support our channel by getting yourself merch. Enjoy the rest of the video.
Fire. To fall is to understand the limits of what once was, but it is not the end. It is a crack in the foundation that begs to be rebuilt, a fracture that demands to be sealed with something stronger than what came before. The weak will tremble in the face of defeat, convinced that the fall is final, that the darkness that follows is eternal. But those who wield power know that darkness is not an enemy. It is an ally, a place to retreat, to gather strength, to prepare for the return. Failure is not the death of ambition. It is its rebirth. Every defeat carries within it the seed of victory, planted deep within the ashes of what once was. To rise again is to claim that seed, to nurture it into something more powerful than before. The world remembers defeat, but it does not understand the strength that grows from it. Each failure is a reminder that power is not given, it is taken. It is built piece by piece, battle by battle. The strongest are not those who never fall, but those who rise from every defeat more resolute, more dangerous than before. There is no shame in falling, there is only shame in staying down. To embrace failure is to understand that defeat is temporary, a momentary pause in the march toward greatness. Those who cling to success as though it is the only measure of strength will never understand the depths of power that failure can bring. For in failure there is clarity, a brutal, unflinching clarity that exposes the weakness, that sharpens the mind into a weapon more lethal than before. Each defeat teaches the art of resilience. The world is shaped not by those who succeed on the first try, but by those who rise from failure, bloodied but unbroken, and carve their path forward with the lessons learned in the pit. To fall is to embrace the process of becoming unstoppable, to understand that every blow that lands is a step closer to mastering the art of survival. It is in the face of defeat that the true warrior is born, not in the moments of glory, but in the moments where the world believes you finished, where you rise despite the weight pressing down. Failure is the greatest teacher, but only for those who embrace it, who learn to wear it like armor, who transform it into fuel. Those who avoid failure, who seek to live without the pain of defeat, are destined to remain stagnant, to decay in the safety of mediocrity. But those who walk headlong into failure, who fall and rise again, are those who will reshape the world, who will write their story not in fleeting victories, but in battles fought and won through blood and fire. Never confuse a single defeat with the end. It is merely the prelude to your rise, a chapter in the story of your inevitable dominance. Embrace failure, for it is the architect of your strength. It will build you higher, harder, more relentless than before. Let the world witness your fall, for it is in the fall that your ascent begins. And when you rise from the depths, scarred but undefeated, the world will know that failure was never the end. It was the very fuel that fed your ascension. There is no final defeat. There is only the moment before you rise again. Don't give up. The world tests those who seek power by placing the greatest obstacles at the end, where the weak falter and the strong endure. It is always the final blow, the last effort, that unlocks the door to victory. The masses give in before the end, believing the struggle too great, the weight too heavy. But those who understand the nature of persistence know that the door is always within reach, just beyond the final resistance. It is the last key on the ring that opens the door, the final push that breaks through the wall. Despair is the weapon of the weak, designed to cripple, to convince that the effort is wasted, that no reward awaits. But despair is an illusion, a last-ditch effort of a world that seeks to keep you in chains. The greatest victories come when the body and mind are pushed beyond their limits, when the darkness is deepest and the end feels just out of reach. But the one who does not stop, who refuses to let the weight of failure crush their spirit, is the one who finds the key, who opens the door others thought locked forever. The final step is always the hardest, always the most punishing. But that step is where strength is truly tested, where all that came before, every battle, every defeat, leads to this moment. To give up before that final key is turned is to surrender everything. The world is filled with those who fell short, who stopped just before the door opened, forever haunted by what might have been. But those who press forward, who refuse to fall into the trap of surrender, find that it is in that last brutal moment where everything changes. The door to power, to victory, is not easily opened. It is not meant for the many. It is meant for the few who understand that the journey is not over when the body is broken, when the mind is weary. The journey ends only when the door's unlocked, and not a second before. Each failure, each locked door is another key waiting to be found. It is the culmination of all that you are, all that you have endured, that brings you to that final moment. And when the last key is in your hand, there will be no hesitation, no fear, only the knowledge that it was always meant to be yours. There are no shortcuts to greatness, no easy paths to dominance. Each key on the ring represents a trial, a battle fought and won. The last key is the hardest to find because it is the one that requires everything. It demands that you go beyond pain, beyond doubt, beyond the limits of the self. But when the door finally opens, it is not just a victory. It is a transformation. The one who walks through that door is no longer the same, no longer bound by the weakness that plagued those who gave up too soon. To stop before the end is to admit defeat before the battle is truly over. There's always one more key, one more chance, one more step that will bring you to what you seek. Those who master this understanding never falter, for they know that the door cannot remain locked forever. It's simply waiting for the right moment to be opened. And that moment comes only to those who refuse to stop, who refuse to let the weight of the journey crush their will. Each obstacle is another key on the ring, each failure a clue to the next step. The process is brutal, designed to break the weak and forge the strong. But the one who understands that the final key is always within reach never stops turning the ring, never stops searching for the door. And when it finally opens, the victory is not just in the conquest of the obstacle, but in the knowledge that nothing, no force, could stop the inevitable rise. The world seeks to make you give up just before the door opens. It whispers that the struggle is endless, that no victory lies at the end. But those who have mastered the art of endurance, who understand that the final key is always the hardest to find, know that this is the moment where most fail. They know that the greatest reward comes after the greatest resistance, that the door that holds everything back is always opened by the final key. Do not give up, for the door is there waiting and the key is in your hand. All that is required is the strength to turn it, to push through the final barrier, to ignore the voices that tell you to stop. And when you do, when the door swings open and the path forward is clear, you will understand what so few ever grasp, that victory was always there, just beyond the last breath, the final effort. The world belongs to those who do not give up, who find the last key and make it their own. It's only when you risk failure that the deepest, most dangerous truths are revealed. To play it safe is to walk the path of the ordinary, to cower in the shadows of what could have been. Playing it safe keeps the soul in chains, locked within the confines of mediocrity, where no great work is born and no great power is seized. Those who avoid risk never touch the edges of their potential. They live in a cage of their own making, ignorant of the vast darkness beyond. Risk is the blade that cuts through the fabric of safety, that exposes the raw, untapped power hidden in the depths of failure. The greatest discoveries are made on the edge of ruin, where failure is not only possible, it is inevitable. To seek out safety is to deny the very essence of the human experience, to settle for a shallow existence while the void calls to those brave enough to risk everything. Failure is not a punishment. It is the gateway to something greater, the cost of entry to the realm of real power. Those who risk nothing gain nothing, but those who walk willingly into the fire, who throw themselves into the arms of possible defeat, are the ones who find the secrets that the safe will never know. Playing it safe is the act of the timid, of those who fear what lies beyond their limited understanding. To risk failure is to embrace the full scope of what it means to be human, to step into the abyss and dare it to swallow you whole. There is no growth in the comfort of safety, no transformation in the arms of security. Only those who risk everything are rewarded with everything. It is in the act of risking failure that the soul is tested, that the mind is sharpened, that the true potential is unleashed. The safe will never understand what it means to reach beyond themselves, to push the boundaries of what is possible. They will never feel the raw power that comes from risking it all, from standing on the precipice of disaster and refusing to turn back. To risk failure is to confront your own limits and shatter them. It is in the moments where failure looms largest that the greatest breakthroughs are made, where the impossible becomes reality because you dared to step beyond what was comfortable. Risk is the ultimate expression of strength. It is the act of defiance against a world that demands you stay within its confines, that tells you to play it safe, to never stray too far from the path. But power is never found on the well-trodden road. It is found in the wilderness, in the places where failure is not just a possibility, but a constant presence. To risk failure is to declare war on safety, to reject the smallness of the ordinary and reach for something far greater. The safe cling to their lives, terrified of losing what little they have. But those who risk everything know that life is not about clinging. It is about conquering. To risk failure is to throw yourself into the storm, to confront the chaos and bend it to your will. In that storm you will either rise or fall, but it is only in the rising or the falling that you truly live. There is no power in playing it safe, no greatness in the shallow waters where failure is never a threat. Real power lies in the depths, where only those who risk drowning can touch the bottom and emerge victorious. To risk failure is to touch the full extent of your human experience, to unlock parts of yourself that remain dormant in the quiet, safe corners of existence. Those who avoid risk never feel the sharpness of life, never experience the full weight of what it means to be alive. They never bleed for their ambition, never feel the fire of defeat or the soaring triumph of overcoming impossible odds. It is only by risking failure that you discover what you are truly capable of, what you can endure, and what you can become. Playing it safe is not living, it is waiting to die. It is an existence devoid of discovery, an endless cycle of avoiding risk in the hope of preserving something that was never meant to last. To risk failure is to challenge the very fabric of existence, to throw yourself into the unknown and trust that you will either conquer it or be consumed by it. But in that risk there is a power, a knowledge that cannot be gained in the safety of complacency. The safe may survive, but they will never know what it is to thrive, to burn with the intensity of risking it all. They live in the shadows of their own fear, watching as the world passes them by. But those who risk failure live in the light of their own creation, shaping their world through the fire of their ambition. Risking failure is not an act of recklessness. It is the ultimate act of defiance, the refusal to accept the limits imposed by the weak and the fearful. So, risk failure. Step into the darkness, into the unknown, and embrace the possibility of defeat. For it is in that risk, in that daring act of rebellion against safety, that the greatest discoveries are made.